Hi there, it's Kevin with the Rogue Market here with an update to the Double Masters expected value, or just the value, overall value of the set, and give a thorough analysis of where I think these cards are going to bottom out, and give you maybe some of my picks that I think are going to be good pickups if they hit certain thresholds, or which cards I think are going to be able to stem the bleeding and be either good holds or something that can actually increase in value over time. So we have a lot of data to go by with previous sets, like even Battle Bond and Ultimate Masters. Well, those are two of these sets that had both competitive and commander cards in them. And if the trends continue with Double Masters, we're going to see a very similar price trajectory for these particular cards. So the TLDR of both 2018 and 2019 is competitive did not do well. All of the cards that are in this envelope of what we consider competitive cards, whether it be Modern or Legacy or even now Pioneer, they have not fared well over time. Now, the pandemic has something to do with that, with organized play and Grand Prix, and usually it was Grand Prix that spiked cards to begin with. So you'd see stagnant competitive cards until there was a Grand Prix that showcased them, and then you'd see those one-day increases of the deck that became the new breakout deck, or a deck that dominated a particular tournament. And I think that that's what's affecting prices more than anything, is we're not seeing those lists show up, these big Grand Prix finishes and whatnot, or even now with like the Players Tours, like those they've been playing those in more than just Standard in the past, like Pioneer and Modern with those as well. And those usually get the eyes. So that is what's really, really affecting the prices of those more than anything. But it was coming on the heel of 2 years that were already struggling with keeping the price of the reprints of these competitive cards. Now, I've talked about this in other videos that I think that competitive players are more likely to buy and sell cards in waves. So they're more likely to get rid of a deck that no longer is functioning well, gets a ban. They don't just keep that deck. So they make Jund, for example, and Jund goes out of favor, and then they build Tron. So they cannibalize their cards, build Tron, and a lot of the times that supply enters back into the market, and rather than just stays out of the market, which we see in EDH. EDH players specifically are the ones that will build a deck, and even if they're not actively playing that deck, they have some good times. They have some memories with that deck, and they just keep it sleeved up and in a box for the day that maybe they'll use it. Or a lot of EDH players also just, now they have one deck, okay, they play that one deck for a little bit, they get bored of it, make a second deck, okay, third deck, oh, I'm going to play my first deck again. They just rotate through decks, and they just continue to add to their collection. They're more like board gamers. Board gamers just continue to add to their collection, even though they're never going to play that board game ever again. I'm a board gamer, I would know. Now, my board game collection is getting out of control. Anyway, let's go on to now what I consider the factoring with those out of the way of where I think these prices are going to go. And this is going to be a kind of a detailed, kind of a longer video analyzing each one of the mythics and all of the notable rares from the set. So before we get into these, let's go ahead and look at where Double Masters is headed. Remember, this set does not even drop till the 7th of August, so we have a couple of days before it's officially released. So that's before the big box stores supposedly are going to start putting out those 3-pack draft packs in the big box stores, which will affect the supplies. And this is before technically stores can give their pre-orders to their customers to come pick it up. And just the mass amounts of supply is going to get from those those eBay sellers like the Sports and Mores and the Rudies are finally going to show up in the hands of the people that are going to be cracking these, and then that's going to enter into the supply. There's also been a lot of misinformation out there by other big YouTubers thinking that this set has a huge EV, both the VIPs and the regular versions, the Double Masters draft boxes, and I think that's going to lead to a lot of people actually cracking these for value. So one thing about Double Masters, it's actually been a pretty much a fail of a set for as far as MSRP is concerned. People don't understand what I'm talking about. I get criticism because people think this is a win for a set, but it actually isn't. Where Wizards of the Coast wants a set to sell is right at its supposed MSRP. It doesn't want a set to go below that. We're seeing VIP packs sell anywhere between, I've seen the lowest I've seen them is $83.50, and the highest I've seen them is about $90-ish. Like that's where they're trending on eBay. And same thing with Double Masters boxes, they've been going for around the 280s. So if you actually look at the distributor price and you try to go where the MSRP markup used to be 40%, it was the markup of the distributor cost, we should see VIP packs trending at 125. That was the level, that was the price point that Wizards of the Coast wanted their strategic partners to make to have pretty decent spread. Like I haven't been too fond of actually selling VIPs at my local store. People don't get why margins are so important, because margins, products actually compete more with other products in your store rather than compete with that same product at different venues. So what I'm talking about is local game stores have a finite amount of money they can get from each customer, and they want to be able to get the highest margins out of each customer and each dollar that's spent at their store. Currently, if you're buying VIPs, my highest distributor cost for one of my VIPs was $78, and I'm selling them at $100. I am not making the margins that I need to sustain my business, and that's $100 from a customer that could have been spent on something like singles that have a way, way, way better margin. So I have still said that this Double Masters has been a pretty much a failure of a set to be able to sell at that MSRP value. Now, Jumpstart and mystery boxes, and for the most part, even like Ikoria Commander decks, collector's editions, many of those have actually had better near MSRP prices than these than Double Masters or VIP. So, from a store perspective and from that as a business person perspective, Double Masters kind of fallen flat. So let's look at EV and see exactly where that's going. Where EV should get affected even more is that's now the anchor point that cards are going to go, that the price of a box must come down to now where the price that people actually paid for those boxes. So usually this is distributor cost is where the EV. So if you actually go to Dongler, very few of these sets are able to go above distributor cost. So we're looking at standard sets. They always cap out at below what you can actually still buy the box from distributors. Now, this, of course, has more to do with unlimited supply of what we call in-print sets, but you can actually see sets that are not in print still go to, if you go or sets that aren't considered unlimited print still go down to that sort of value. So if you like Commander 2020, that had very, very high EV when it came out the gates. And then, of course, now it's come down to, so the cost from distributors is between, 112 on the really low end to 125 on the high end. And if you add up all the prices of the expected value or the value, because Commander, the actual value, it's going to be below that distributor cost of people can't just open up and crack and sell the cards at profit. Otherwise, people would do that. And that's, instead of trying to sell it to consumers, they just do that because singles are a lot easier to work with. And that's not the case now with either even Commander 2020. All right, I hope that makes sense. I hope I didn't skip over any of the important details. But when we're talking about Double Masters EV, set EV, absolutely should come down to where the distributor price is, and I've anchored that about 215, and it should come down in the coming weeks to about 280s, what people have been paying for these, 250s to 280s of what people have been paying for this product on, the Amazons, the eBays, and the Sports and Mores. All right, so Double Masters has a ways to go for that. This is even not including the box toppers. There's 2 of them, so that affects the price, and Ultimate Masters that sets the EV up about $40. Double Masters, I think it will be for 2 cards. $40 is probably even pushing it. We have some stinkers that these aren't even the foil versions, and we don't even know if the foil versions are going to be worth less than the non-foils that you get from the box toppers. We'll have to wait and see about Double Masters. I don't think that the box toppers are nearly as special as the ones that came out of Ultimate Masters. Ultimate Masters is kind of a new thing. This is kind of a known. Many of these cards have special reprintings, like there's expedition versions, there's from the vault versions of many of these cards that are now the box toppers. So they've lost their specialness. When you make everything special, nothing becomes special. And then many of these box toppers / foil cards have insanely low, razor thin multipliers from their regular versions of the cards. And we can check that out in videos to come. I need to do an entire video on the dismal foil multiplier for Double Masters. All right, so here we have it with it's even since the first of the week here, it's lost $60 worth of value, which is over 10%, more like it's almost 15-20% of the value Double Masters has gone down since Dongler has started to do the EV. If we come take a look at the MG Goldfish just set value, this has also gone down in value. I don't know why it's not showing up here. Let's do a refresh. See if it actually pull up the prices here of the graph here. Yep, it's gone down from its high. It looks like 1,666 now down to 1,480 at TCG mid price. According to TCG mid, there's no card that's over $100, and there are now only 3 cards over 50. And we can count these as 40 cards. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cards over 40. And there's a big jump then from Mox Opal to Dark Confident. Another thing that I noticed is there's also a big jump in these $5 cards. $5 seems to go right from 5. I mean, Firelight was a $5 card and then just jumps right down to Wrath of God at 4. These uncommons, especially Oubliette, is never going to hold. This card's going to get crushed. It's just not special enough to hold this $4 price tag, in my opinion. Not enough commander play or pauper play to justify being worth money. All right, so now that we're out of the way with the preface of this video, let's get into the meat of the video. So I've created the spreadsheet. I will make it public once I fill in more of these comments of my analysis of each individual card, starting with the mythics and the notable rares. So notable rares right now were the cards that were worth $10 before Double Masters was really dropped on us. And as you can see, many of them are below the $10 mark. So let's explain the columns. This is the last printing. The first column is the last printing this card was worth before Double Masters was reprinted. So this wasn't the high. This wasn't the high it ever was able to achieve. This is what the card, its latest reprint, was worth. The latest printing was worth before Double Masters was spoiled. So Archangel Thune was a $28 card. How we'll showcase this here. So let's just look at Archangel Thune here. So before Double Masters, you just go to this price point, go back over to Iconic Masters. You can see it's already fallen in value. It was about $28 is where I put this. Right here before it was spoiled in Double Masters. So I could have said this is worth 30. I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt that the average price and within around the month that this before the set was spoiled is worth $28. So we come over here and that's what we filled in for Archangel Thune was 28. If we come over here for its 2-year low, you usually come back and find the low point between July of 2018 and now of the printing. The low point would be $13. So we come over here and 2-year low is actually 13. So that's when I can adjust here. It wasn't actually 15, it was about 13. And a good mathematical formula for, if you look at Ultimate Masters and other reprintings, is typically these cards go to about 65% of their 2-year low. So, demand takes a while to outstretch the supply. It takes about 2 years to do so to where it gets to its high. So if you can go back to find where its 2-year low was, that's a good anchor point of where the card will go. And so then it gets a color coding. The color coding is whether or not I think it will be higher or lower than its 2-year low. This yellow color is neutral. This red is it's going to be lower than its 2-year low. And the green is it's going to fare better than its 2-year low. Now, I think that Double Masters as a whole is going to go even less than 65% of its 2-year low. Currently, it's at 50% of its where it was anchored at before it was printed. And of course, that number is going to be higher than the 2-year low. So 65% I think is pretty fair of where these end up usually going. So now that we kind of know, I've got this adjusted value. This is my prediction and it's kind of anchored on the yellow and the color. So 10 is very similar to 9 for the 2-year low. Of course, we did just adjust it. So I think that's probably where Archangel Thune is going to settle at, is about $10. Now, there are a couple factors that can go into this. This would be like a normal set that gets dropped on us. We do have a potentially failing economy that is coming up, and we also do have just the high amounts of reprints that we've seen from this particular year that could also crash the market. So this could actually go more than what my adjusted value is. My adjusted value, again, is anchored on this 2-year low factor. All right, out of the way, let's get right into the video. So first of all, Archangel Thune. Archangel Thune is a very, very popular card in lifelink decks. Lifelink decks are incredibly popular in Commander. It's also typically does see some fringe play in both Modern and Pioneer. It really hurts the Walking Ballista was banned in Pioneer because there were a few decks that were going the Archangel Thune combo with the, if we check over here for, it doesn't even see like it's showing up anymore in Pioneer. Because M14 is legal and it does have Walking Ballista. You give Walking Ballista lifelink, it goes infinite. Heliod pushed Archangel Thune kind of out of that slot, but you have seen like Archangel Thune see play in some of the Oketra Monument decks in the past. All right, so I'm not going to do a huge analysis of every card like this, or otherwise we'll be here for years. But Archangel Thune, has some modern playability, but has a lot of casual pill and a lot of commander pill. It does recover quite quickly after the printing, so you can see it at a 2-year low of 13, and it went up all the way to $28, which is over 100% increase over that 2 year. So I like this as a neutral card. I think that its adjusted value be 10, so slightly above its 2-year low, and it's already at $13 is where Archangel Thune is currently at, which means that's kind of a bad sign with how quickly this tanked. We have Arkham Daxon. So Arkham Daxon is its 2-year low was 13. It was kind of close to it had some price spikes, but then came right back down. This is the low supply first reprint. That's a warning, huge warning sign of this card, because typically low supply first reprints get crushed. So it's currently going for 6. Its 2-year low, 65% of its 2-year low would be 9. It's already currently under that. I put this at 5, but I think this one actually can go down to 2 to 3. Is where this one will settle. So I've kind of locked this in at 5. If this goes below the 5, I think this could make a pretty decent long-term spec, but I've got long-term bullet here because long-term means long-term. We're talking about it needs to dodge reprints within the next 1 to 2 years for this card to really be a target for a spec. Next up, we have Atraxa Praetor's Voice. This is a top 3 commander of all time. Its last printing was 40, its 2-year low was 16, its current value is 20, and that would put it 65% of the 2-year low at 11. I'm thinking this is going to fare much, much, much better than its 2-year low, and it should be a very popular commander. For long term, it's got the proliferate effect. It's, again, a top 3 commander of all time, so I'm very, very bullish of this card being able to maintain its price at 15. Again, this is not like something that is like, oh, buy this card now. No, of course, you have to always still compare the current versus the 2-year low, and if it ever goes below that, that's when these greens are definitely better cards to pick up, is when you see some differences here. So right now, I don't think this is a buy until it hits about 15, and then it of course is a buy. But I think it will fare better than its 2-year low. I have Avacyn also in this category. Its 2-year low was 18. It went all the way up to 52. It's currently at 26, and that put it 12 at its 2-year low. I don't think it's going to get that low. I think 20 is going to be Avacyn. I think it's going to be one of the top mythics long term. That's kind of pathetic for a mythic from Double Masters that 20 is going to be one of the better mythics. However, I think that's where we're headed with this set. Avenger Zendikar. I've got this one in a neutral one. I can see it actually going lower than its current. So its last print is 14. Its 2-year low is 5. Current is 6. And that put it 4. I think that it will go down to that 4. If it goes below the $4 and goes into what we consider kind of the bulk mythic between the $1 and $5 range, $1 and $3 range actually is what I consider bulk mythic. I think the Avengers of Zendikar is a pretty good pickup. Tons of casual appeal, has that landfall ability, very, very good. We might have some landfall type things coming out with Zendikar, but this one also, huge warning sign for Avengers Zendikar, since it is in the Zendikar kind of theme, it could easily be reprinted in the set boosters for that reprint slot. So I guess this one has some, edit, undo, whatever happened there. This one has some problems with reprint possibilities in the upcoming sets. Batterskull. So Batterskull, you can notice here, is very, very similar to its 2-year low is very similar to its last printing. So this card was already on the downturn. It's currently at $10, which is already lower than its 2-year 65%. This one is going to struggle to recover because A, it's usually a 1 of or 2 of. B, Stoneforge Mystic decks do play it, but they haven't really used multiples. It's usually a 1 of main, 1 of side sometimes. Other decks, 1 of side. That is not enough supply to really get, or enough demand to really get excited that it will outstretch the supply. And so I'm thinking this was going to fall to $8, and it's going to have a hard time recovering. So this is definitely getting a red warning sign for it. Blightsteel Colossus. This is a low supply first reprint. I've got this notation that actually sees less play than Balefire Dragon. Balefire Dragon went all the way down to $4 after it was reprinted in Ultimate Masters. So I am not too keen on this card. I think it will go all the way down to 15. I think Price Memory will have a little bit going for it compared to Balefire Dragon, which was never a $70 card. But it's currently a $41 card, puts it at 19 for its 65% of its 2-year low. Yeah, it was recently had went up in value just because the supply really started to get, the demand finally ate up that last bit of supply. It was never like a modern card to where it had the big price spike increases. So you see this card really taking off when it hit its critical low of supply, and the demand then bumped it up. You see this low supply foils from Odyssey block. Those are the cards that are like, oh, there's a ton of copies, and that last $15 one gets bought, and then all we have left is like $40 ones, and then you have like 40, 45, 50, 55, and then you see those get eaten up, and then the only copies in existence on TCG Player are all in the $70 mark. I don't think that people are actually buying this card at like a high level. Those are the only cards that were left. And so I think that now with this huge supply coming in from the Lightsteel Colossus, we're going to see this card just tank in price. And it already really has tanked in price, 70 out of 41. It's really got price memory it's working for at the moment. People are being stubborn with this card, but this one has a lot of room down to go. All right, so we have Brea. Brea is a popular commander, but never really gained a significant increase. 8 was its low, 14 was where it was at before it was reprinted. It's currently at 5, which puts it lower than its 2-year, or its 65%. And I think 5 is probably where it's going to hold at. If it gets below 5, maybe below 4, I think this one's a pretty good buy. Next up, we have Chrome Mox. Chrome Mox was $75. It's currently going for $39. Put it 36 at its 2-year low, and then put it 24 at its 65% of its 2-year low. I think that that's a pretty good anchor. I think this will be about 25. Decks do want this, especially C, EDH, and Legacy, so price memory should help it, but I still think that there's not enough demand for this card that it really holds these prices, and it's going to go down to 25. All right, we have Dark Confidant, especially the Sniffing Joe Biden version of Dark Confidant. Was $50 before it was reprinted. It was 42 was its 2-year low, so it's fairly similar. I mean, that's pretty razor thin for 2 years, from 42 to 50. Its current value is 29, which almost puts it at its 65% of its 2-year low. The main reason for this is Modern has been in decline. It actually didn't really have a good spot in some of these Jund decks. Someone would actually prefer not to play Dark Confidant in that slot, especially with there are a lot more cards like Lava Dart that they got the printing in Modern Horizon that were now legal in Modern. I think that's the card I'm thinking of. Correct me if I'm wrong. They really made Dark Confidant a liability at that point. This is now the 3rd reprinting. So the biggest problem with this is Tarmogoyf effect. Even if this card stabilizes, it should have a hard time recovering. See Tarmogoyf. So I've got this anchored at $25. I think that's probably where it will kind of flow at. I could actually see this one going lower than 25. All right, Dark Depths, 28 was its printing, which is actually the lowest in 2 years. So this had not recovered from its Ultimate Masters reprinting. 14 is the current price, which is way below its 65% of its 2-year. I had it anchored at 15, so it's already gone below my prediction of where Dark Depths will kind of bottom out at. And so this is just really bad overall for Dark Depths. It's just too many reprints in the last year. I believe it also had it from the Vaults reprinting. Never really recovered from those, and I don't expect it to do so. If this does become like a cheap option, you could see a lot of commander decks just, we can play Vesuva and Dark Depths and, Lesbian Stage together. And, that could go basically any deck, especially with things that can tutor up green, especially as one of those that can find those combos. I could see that where it's just the budget ends up it hitting more decks, which creates a new demand supply. However, right now, this is bad news for Dark Depths. Darksteel Forge. I actually like Darksteel Forge. 1910, it had a pretty good increase since its 2-year low. It does get reprinted quite often. It's it's very easy to put in like core sets. It's $12 is current price, $7 would be its 65% of its 2-year low. I've got it at kind of yellow because I think it will stabilize at 8. We have Doubly Season, my favorite card for retaining its value out of the set. 60 was its high after, or was its cost before reprint. 37 was 2 years low after the Battle Bond reprint. It recovered quite quickly, quite fast from Battle Bond. 40 is its current price, so 25 would keep it at its 65% of its 2-year low. I don't think it's going to come anywhere near that. I think $35 is going to be where it's going to be. And I've got this as going to be one of the top 5 valued cards in the set when the dust settles. So I have it even outperforming things like Mox Opal and being right there with Jace the Mind Sculptor. All right, next up we have Ensnaring Bridge. Ensnaring Bridge was currently at its 2-year low at 27.27. It's currently 18. It put it at 18 with its 65%. Modern's in decline, second reprinting. Yes, some prison decks do like it in EDH. EDH popularity could stem the bleeding, but I've got this going all the way down to 12. Force of Will. Now here's the big. This is the one that is very confusing to me because people are actually buying cards in the $90 to $100 range. I think that is a mistake. I don't think the Force of Will can hold this. We have a lot of armchair investors that somehow think Force of Will is like a card that is a hold, and I don't think the Legacy or Commander is going to be enough to really stem the bleeding of this guy. This is a new. I mean, this is the first huge supply of Force of Will. It had that Eternal Masters, Ultimate Masters. It missed, right? It wasn't an Ultimate Masters, I don't believe. I don't know. Anyway, Double Masters is going to be the first massive supply of Force of Will. This is going to be a larger supply than probably it existed in Alliance, definitely in Eternal Masters. And so this one is going to get injected with a huge amount of supply. A lot of Force of Wills are still in the hands of investors, not players, because people think this card is like a huge long-term hold. And it never, I don't know. This is a card that I just do not think that now is investable. I think it's going to continue to decline. It's going to be stubborn, though. We're going to see this card hold at this stubborn $90 price tag for a long period, and then it's going to start tanking in value. And slowly, 25 cents here, 10 cents here, week after week, until I think that its bottom is going to be many moons from here, many months, maybe even a year before it hits this $50. But that's where I see this card finally stabilizing at before it actually does start seeing increases. And that could be 6 months to a year down the road. Like I've put the note is many quote-unquote investors will pick up this card as it falls in price. Caution about the false demand that this will cause. Yep. So again, these people, these high-end investors, they love these particular targets because they think they're safe. And I think that Force of Will is anything but safe. I mean, again, it could retain its value. It's a lot of people do like to put money in these high-end cards because they end up having a lower fees overall, like a percentage of fees when you get into that high end, because you just take that regular price of what the fee is, like the 8% fee, but the shipping doesn't hit as hard. Like when it's $2.66 to ship a card, and that's a $10 card, that's a huge percentage of the card. But when it's $2.66 to ship a card that's a $90 card, that's much less of a percentage that gets eaten up by shipping. So a lot of people I do know love the Force Wheels, love the fetch lines for that reason. I don't think this one is where you want to be sticking your money. I've got this anchored at 50. I've even hinted this card goes as low as 40, but it's going to take a long time. So before I get these comments of the week saying, Force Wheels still $100, Kevin, give it time. This card is going to take a long time before it hits its bottom. All right, with that mouthful out of the way, we have Geist of St. Traft. This is it was a $4 card before reprinting. It's €2 low is 3. It's currently going for 2, and 2 is what its discounted 65% would be. Still hasn't recovered from the dual deck printing, which was forever ago. It was like Shadows of Innistrad. $1 is where this is going to settle. It's going to be bulk rare. Geth, Lord of the Vault, it already is bulk rare. Hasn't recovered from C19. It's too much supply now. Imperial Recruiter, 52.28, had a good recovering. Was an A25, Masters 25. It's currently going for 24. 19 is where the 65% is. I've got it at 15 because I think the second reprinting should bottom out the price more than the first. So this is the one that's going to collapse the value of the Imperial Recruiter. Jace the Mind Sculptor, kind of got it in the same category as Imperial Recruiter. This is another iconic card that investors just love to sink money into. It went up to $90. $90 was its price, which is way below its high. Its high was like something like $130 with Jace the Mind Sculptor. And then it is 81 was its 2-year low. 60 is its current price, which put it 53 of its 65. I think that this one could go all the way down to $35. Because Jace just doesn't see enough play in places to... How many times are they going to reprint Jace? It got reprinted twice in Master Sets. This is the third reprinting in Master Sets. I'm not thinking Jace is something that can hold. Kali of the Vast. 34 was its 2-year... was where it was at. 18 was its 2-year low. 15 was where it's... currently at, and 12 is where it could go. I think this will be around $10 to $12 when it stabilizes. Classic EDH card. It might fare better than other cards in the set. We have Karn Liberated, 42. 42 was its actual 2-year low. It was at its 2-year low when it was reprinted. 28 is its current price, which is exactly the 65% of its value. I could actually see this going down 25 to 20. Not enough modern play and not enough EDH play to really make this card go up. It's just too much supply. Karthus, Tyrant of Jund. This card's gonna be $1 because it's reprinted as a foil in the mystery packs. It's, yeah, this one, double reprinting, enough said. Land tax, 38, 17, 22, 12. So this is an EDH staple. It recovers after reprints, as we saw from Battlebond it was reprinted in. And so I think if it gets down to $15, this is a good one that will go back up in value. Maelstrom Nexus, another mystery reprint. It's going to be a bulk rare. $1. Another card that was just crushed in value. 16 was its where it was at. Its 2-year low was 15, so it was at its 2-year low right when it was reprinted twice in mystery and now in this. We have the Mana Crypt, which is the one that I think is going to hold the best. 120 was where it was at. 110 was its low. 95 was its price that it's currently anchored at. 72 would be 65% of its 2-year low. I actually don't think it will go that low. It'll be 85. So many ADH decks wants this. They could continue to print Mana Crypt, and I think it will hold its value, especially when we see the value of Double Masters collapsing. This is going to be kind of the anchor card that soaks up the value of people actually spending money. We now have Mana Echoes. Mana Echoes was a $52 card when it was reprinted. This is a first reprint, too niche of a card. It is going to get crushed. I've got it going down all the way $8. 23 was its 2-year low. 20 is where it's currently at. 15 is where the 65% of the 2-year low would be anchored at, but I think this one will go even half of that because this is just a first reprint, too niche of a card. Yes, like Locust God decks love it. There are some decks in Commander that love it, but it's just too niche of a card to justify that price tag. We have Mox Opal. Mox Opal is another dangerous card because it was already at its 2-year low before reprinting. It was recently banned in Modern, so all that supply of Modern is going to be injected into the supply. It's currently going for 35. 36 would put it at its 65% of the 2-year low. However, I think this one could go all the way down as low as $20 a pop. Riku of Two Reflections, 40, 13, 11, and 9. This is the first major reprinting outside of Commander. It's currently at 11, which is really decreased from its $40 price tag, and it is 65% but at 9. I think it's going to go down to about a $5. Send Triplets. $3 is where I think it's going to settle because this is reprinted as a Mysteries of Foil. So there goes your $35 card that gets the double whammy reprint. 21, it's currently going for $5. It's already been obliterated from its 2-year low, but it's mainly because of the mystery reprint. Skithiryx, the Blight Dragon, 45, 22, 20, and 15. I've got this going down to all the way down to 10. Maybe that's being very pessimistic. It's not as popular as you'd think in EDH. It only has 4K combined as played as a commander and played as just a card. That is also recent. There have been a lot of the kind of proliferate out of War of the Spark and now the evolve out of, not evolve, what's a stupid Ikoria? I can't even think of the Ikoria mechanic where you put it on top of another card. That's helped Skithiryx quite a bit. I think when those kind of die down, and if Skithiryx doesn't see like another place in EDH decks of new commanders that are coming out, I think it's going to continue to go back down. Sneak Attack. I think it never really recovered after Eternal Masters. It lost 50% after the Eternal Masters printing and never really gained a significant gain from 21 all the way to 26 from its 2-year low to where it was at. It's down to 13, which is half of its value after it was reprinted. 14 would put it where it would be if it held that 65%. I got it going down to 12. All right, let's talk about the swords. So we'll put these into the big categories. The two stinkers, Sword of Body Mind and Sword of War and Peace. Those are the ones that are really going to get crushed. I've got the Sword of Body Mind going down to 5 and War and Peace going down to 8 or 7. Light and Shadow, Fire and Ice, and Feast and Famine, I think are going to hold pretty decent value at 30, 30, and 20. Feast and Famine is the one that I've got green because arguably it's the best sword in EDH. But Sword of Fire and Ice also does see some EDH play as well as it's got the Stoneforge Mythic unban going for it. But it was still kind of coming back down after the dust was settling for the unbanning for Modern because the sword decks were just, or the Stoneforge decks just weren't putting up the numbers that we expect them to do. So I think that these are going to be able to hold at 30, 30, 20, which is reasonable for the swords, but the Sword of War and Peace and the Sword of Body Mind are the ones that are really going to get crushed. Scarab God, I've got it as a too soon of a reprint. I think it will go back down to $8. The 65% of the 2-year low would be 10. 27 was high, 14 was 2-year low. It's already below its 2-year low. Trinisphere, I think, is just too niche of a card in competitive play, which we've talked about competitive play. It's his first major reprint. 35, 23, 13, 15. I've got this one going all the way down to 8. Seems like it will go down to 8. 13 is already where it's at. Vengevine. Dredgevine decks fell out of favor in Modern. They could come back a little bit. It's already down to $6. I think this goes down to $5. It still was at its all-time low before the printing, so $12 is where it was at. $12 was its 2-year low, and World Coil Engine is a very similar position. It was already at its 2-year low. 16 is where its price is at. I think it will still have a bigger decline, down to $10 to $12. All right, rares are seeing a much worse hit. I've got basically most rares only being able to anchor between $5 to $8, even for high demand rares, just because the supply is just so high from Double Masters with 2 rares in each pack. So you get double the cards. A lot of these are in this modern in decline, like Ad Nauseam, Blood Moon, Goblin Guide, Mesmeric Orb, Noble Hierarch, Stoneforge Mystic, Thoughtseize, Walking Ballista. I think we can put most of these in this big category. So I'm just going to tap over these with Academy Rooms and just talk about these numbers here. Rares are just too high of supply. I've got this going down to $5. Went from 22, 29, 22, and 10. Way below its 65% value. Ad Nauseam, same thing. It's already down to 7. I think it will get down to 5. Blood Moon, I actually like Blood Moon. I put it at $10. It's already on to $8. Blood Moon's kind of a hold because EDH does have a lot of demand for Blood Moon. And as this becomes a cheap budget hate card to throw in EDH decks, I think we'll have it see more play. But still Commander on the decline. Cyclonic Rift. I've got Cyclonic Rift and Exploration holding at 15 because 15 is the ceiling for rares. So I've got Stoneforge Mystic, Exploration, Cyclonic Rift, able to hit that $15 price tag. The rest of them I think will have to go below it. Goblin Guide is already at its 2-year low, down to 7. I think it's going to collapse even more to 5. Hammer, this was its first real reprinting. I've got it, being at the $6, it's already $8. Icecon Scepter, I think it's going to go even lower. It's currently going for $7. Mana Reflection, this is first reprinting. This one will get crushed. It's already went from 58 to 15. Maze of Ith, same thing. It's going to get crushed. Mesmeric Orb, it's very casual friendly, but it was already near its 2-year low. I think this is its major first reprinting as well. Noble Hierarch is the 3rd rare printing in a master set. It's already on $15. I think this is going to go to $12, mainly because it's restricted to Bant decks in Commander. Stoneforge Mystic, we've kind of talked about it with all the swords. I think that this one's already coming back down just because it didn't see the play that it thought it would see in Modern. Thoughtseize, Pioneer Demand should stabilize it. It's down to $14. I think 12 is its low. Toxic Deluge, Commander should stabilize it. It's down to $18. I think 12 will be the low. So I've got these kind of in 2 tiers, like the tier 1, and then the tier 2 with the Noble Hierarch, Thoughtseize, and Toxic Deluge. And then Wound Reflection is just going to actually get crushed at $3. The interesting card out of the rares is Walking Ballista. So it just got banned in Pioneer. So we should see a flood of product of supply from the banned Pioneer decks. Many of those decks were running as a 4 of. Both the Helad combo was very popular with Walking Ballista, as well as the Hardened Scales decks. So Hardened Scales and somewhat these like affinity type decks that were robot-based decks that we're seeing play in Pioneer are going to now have all that supply getting influx back into the market. And now with the printing in the 2XM, and now with the recent from the Vault Secret Lair printing, I think Walking Ballista is going to have a massive supply that is going to go down in value. I think it's going down to $8. As soon as it does go down to $8, definitely pick it up. This one is very popular EDH card. Let me bold it again. Let me underline it. Well, I don't know where underline is on this thing. We'll give it an italics. Very popular EDH card. So regardless of where competitive sees Walking Ballista, this card just is such an inclusion in so many commanders that come out. Anything that works with artifacts, anything that works with +1/+1 counters, anything that works with those two are so universal in Commander. It's going to continue to be a very popular EDH card and go in many, many decks. Whew, well, there's my kind of overview. Incredibly long video, I admit. So let's just get over here now to the numbers, which we'll be focusing on more when I do updates to this video. The total value of the pre-value of these notable cards from Double Masters was they printed about $2,000, $2,100 in rares and mythics that had $10 or more value. Its total value of its 2-year was around $1,340. Its current value of those cards is $1,087.50. The total projected of where I put the projected was $758. It is lost. It is now only 51.98%. So it's 52%. It's lost already 48% of its pre-value before this set was reprinted. So it's much below the 65. Well, it's not below the 65. I need to do a conversion here with this one to see where it's at. With the total 2-year value, should be around that mark. And the average Mythic is now down to about $22 for the average Mythic. So that is not a good sign. The average rare, we'll have to do an average rare. Again, I haven't had the time to plug in all of these because these were the cards that were over $10. We've already have a bunch of them that have now even gone below $10, like $7 Ad Nauseam, Blood Moon, Goblin Guide. These have fallen short in the last couple of days. And mind you, this was updated last night. So I'm sure some of these cards in Double Masters have gone down even more. Let's kind of click on this daily decrease. Yeah, I've seen some other cards go down even more since I've done this video. So maybe like Mana Echoes needs to be updated, and Ensnaring Bridge and whatnot needs to be updated even from this video. So I'll try to continue to do updates for this video. Long 40-minute video. This should give the big bulk explanation of the cards. So now when we do maybe not daily updates, but bi-weekly updates at least, you'll have a better grasp of what I'm talking about with these cards. We'll have to start plugging in the other versions of these cards. I think that those ones are actually going to get hit harder than the normal versions of these cards, as the specialness of the box toppers are and the vast amount of VIP packs that are out there are going to really, really affect those prices. And so I've already said that commons and uncommons especially are foils you do not want to be touching, because I think their foil multiplier may be negligible because the 8 commons, so let's actually go back to Double Masters. So this is a problem. So you have 90 commons and 80 uncommons. You get 8 commons. You get 10% of all uncommons as foils in one VIP pack. 10% of all, so basically you just have to have 8 VIP packs opened and every uncommon is a foil. That is so insanely common for foil uncommons. That's more common than Double Masters having just uncommon slots. So these are not going to be worth crap. These foil uncommons are not going to have a foil multiplier. Let's see what they're at right now, just to give us a baseline. So the most expensive, so let's sort by price. The most expensive is Manamorphose. Let's look at the Manamorphose foil multiplier for 2XM. 1.3 is what they have it. It was 1.3, which is, that's pretty decent actually for a foil multiplier. So $5 for a normal. Let's see. Let's actually look at the 2XM spread. So the 2XM spread is going to be, okay, it's got it higher on the market price. Mid price got $6.50. Let's go ahead and click it on see where it's actually, if there are prices around $5 for the foil. So let's click on foil. So there's plenty of ones at $5. Plenty of pages and pages of normal ones at $5. Let's click on foil. Okay, there's 2 at $5 right there, so there's no spread there. Bunch at $6.18. So yeah, these are going to start getting competitive. This is not special. Foils are absolutely not special in the scope of things for Double Masters. So avoid common and uncommon foils, too high of supply. All right, we're going to end this video way too long. I need to get to work. I need to get stuff shipped out. This has been Kevin with The Rogue Market. Thanks for watching.